Whispers, rumors, speculation. The air crackles with anticipation. Is it real? Is it coming? The PS5 Pro, a mythical beast in the realm of gaming, continues to lurk just out of sight. Leaked images, cryptic developer comments, and fervent fan theories paint a picture of a console poised to push the boundaries of graphical fidelity and performance. But what exactly do we know? The PS5 Pro rumor mill refuses to stop churning out new reports on a near-weekly basis. While the upgraded version of the existing PS5 console hasn't been officially confirmed in any capacity by Sony, reliable industry insiders continue to maintain that it's on the way, with one source even suggesting that it's 100% in development. The PS5 Pro would function as a mid-generation refresh between the PS5 and its successor, which we'll call the 6 pounds. We expect the PS5 Pro to follow the lead of its precursor, the PS4 Pro. Essentially, this was a more powerful version of the base PS4 console. It packed the same DualShock 4 controller and library of games but boosted performance and targeted 4K resolution on select titles. It was a console designed for gamers who wanted extra power to enjoy PlayStation gaming at its very best. The PS5 Pro would presumably do similar by building upon the foundations of the base PS5 with refreshed internal components and maybe a slight visual redesign. But remember, it'll be an iteration of the existing PS5 hardware, not a full-fledged successor. This is not the 6 pounds. As the PS5 Pro hasn't been officially unveiled, all we have is rumors, leaks, and a healthy dose of speculation. But for now, here's everything we think we know about the PS5 Pro. PS5 Pro's rumored release date and price. The PS5 Pro has been tipped to launch in the second half of 2024. This would place it about 4 years after the launch of the PS5. This would be a little longer than the 3-year gap between the debut of the PS4 in November 2013 and the PS4 Pro in November 2016. Most recently, a leak of information pointed towards a September 2024 release window, as confirmed by Jeff Grubb on his podcast. Another prediction comes from Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, who has repeatedly suggested that the PS5 Pro will launch in November 2024. Henderson's report is particularly significant, as he previously leaked the existence of the PS5 Slim and PlayStation Portal last year. Furthermore, additional sources suggest a 2024 release date, adding more credibility. Last year, a leaker claimed that the PS5 Pro and Nintendo Switch 2 would share a launch window. Since then, several sources had indicated that Nintendo has delayed its next hardware until early 2025. But there's been nothing to suggest that Sony is planning the same. All signs point to the PS5 Pro still launching in 2024. When it comes to price, there's precious little out there to even give us an indication of how much we need to save up ahead of time. At its release in 2016, the PS4 Pro cost $399. This was the same price the base PS4 had launched at 3 years earlier. If the PS5 Pro were to follow the trend of the last generation, it would launch for $499. However, don't be surprised if the PS5 Pro is pitched at an even higher cost, maybe even $599. Sony proved with the PSVR 2, $549 launch price, that it's not afraid to charge a premium price for new hardware. So you might want to start saving those pennies as soon as possible, because the PS5 Pro could be one expensive console. PS5 Pro potential specs. When it comes to the PS5 Pro specs, 2 words keep cropping up: 8K and ray tracing. We would expect these to be the 2 areas that Sony attempts to target with any form of revised PS5 hardware. Our latest hint at the PS5 Pro specs comes from YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead, with Insider Gaming and IGN both corroborating the scoop. According to this significant leak, the PS5 Pro could boast 67 teraflops of compute power, equating to a mere 33.5 flops of floating point performance in real-world gameplay terms. To put that into perspective, the PS5 has just 10.28 flops. So in plain English, that would be a massive technical leap and would allow the PS5 Pro to compete with even top-level gaming PCs. These rumored specs would be worthy of the Pro name. Insider Gaming has expanded on Moore's original story by providing further PS5 Pro spec details. The source suggests the Pro will get a big boost to system memory performance, leaping from the 448 GBs of memory on the base PS5 up to 576 GBs. The same report claims the design of PS5 Pro's CPU will be identical to the OG PS5, but the new PlayStation console will have a high CPU frequency mode that ramps up the CPU's clock speeds to 3.5 GHz. This would give the Pro's processor a 10% clock boost over the standard PS5, which is pretty significant. Other rumored specs that come by way of insider gaming include audio improvements, as much as a 35% uptick to the console's audio compression manager, 45% faster rendering speed, and a huge boost to ray tracing performance. While this all sounds exciting, be sure to note, it's still an unconfirmed rumor. Tom Henderson also suggests that the PS5 Pro will have a strong focus on ray tracing and that legendary PlayStation console architect Mark Cerny is involved in the creation of the hardware. The latter is no surprise, but is still welcome news. Adding in our own speculation, there's been a big push for player choice this console generation, with many PS5 and Xbox Series X games offering either a performance or quality mode. The former typically targets a higher frame rate, the latter a better resolution. We'd love to see the PS5 Pro build even further on this element of player choice. We don't expect a Pro console that would be capable of running the best PS5 games in 8K at 120 Fps with full ray tracing enabled. But instead, players may be able to individually choose which elements are most important to them. PS5 Pro possible features. We think it's highly unlikely that the PS5 Pro will offer any exclusive features per se. As discussed above, it will likely boast more powerful internal components, but we don't expect its upgrades will extend further into exclusive features or games. The PS5 Pro is pretty much guaranteed to play all the same games as the PS5, and the current DualSense controller will almost certainly be the primary way you interact with the console. There is perhaps a possibility that the PS5 Pro will come packing the high-end DualSense Edge controller, but we wouldn't bet on it, as Sony likely wants to sell this $199 accessory separately to dedicated PlayStation fans. It's also been theorized that the PS5 Pro will work in harmony with the recently released PSVR 2 headset. This would make sense, as virtual reality is clearly an area of great interest for Sony, and we expect its latest VR device will be supported for many years to come. There is a reasonable chance that PSVR 2 will also be able to take advantage of the increased power of the PS5 Pro for improved performance levels or sharper visuals. PS5 Pro Early Outlook. The PS5 celebrated its 4th birthday last November, but it still feels like this console generation is only just beginning. After more than 3 years of cross-generation releases, it's only now that the biggest new games are opting to launch exclusively on the PS5. Publishers have opted to release their biggest games on both PS5 and PS4 over the past few years, and this includes heavy-hitting PlayStation exclusives like Horizon, Forbidden West, and God of War Ragnarok. However, the latest flagship exclusive titles like Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Helldivers 2, and Rise of the Ronin are PS5 only. After more than a decade on the market, the PS4 is finally being left behind, but it still feels like we're at least a couple of years away from the base PS5 console hitting its stride. If a PS5 Pro is truly set to release in 2024, it would arguably come too early, launching just as the potential of its predecessor is being fully unlocked. However, some recent high-profile games have been released in a frustratingly poor technical state. Last year's Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a prime example. So there are reasons to believe that developers could do with a little bit more power to play with, and the PS5 Pro could give them plenty of extra juice. Sony would also pitch the PS5 Pro as a product designed specifically for the most enthusiastic gamers. It would not be intended as a replacement for the regular PS5, which would likely continue to be Sony's main console. The PS5 Pro is highly likely to be marketed towards players who want the highest possible resolution, with the most stable frame rates, and wouldn't be designed to replace the standard PS5 hardware. The two could coexist, as the PS4 and PS4 Pro did for several years. And as lovers of cutting-edge gaming ourselves, the various PS5 Pro rumors floating around the internet have got our full attention. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on the PS5 Pro rumors? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more gaming content. You think you've mastered the PS5? Its blazing speed and jaw-dropping visuals are just the tip of the iceberg. Under the surface, a hidden world of secrets and game-changing features awaits. Imagine Easter eggs that redefine iconic games, accessibility options that unlock new possibilities, and hidden tools that transform your gameplay. This isn't just a console, It's a treasure chest overflowing with surprises. Are you ready to crack it open? Own Use Game Boost to auto-enhance PS4 games. The PS5 can automatically remake backwards compatible PS4 games without any developer input. This is similar to the HDR machine learning technology in the Xbox Series X. Sony calls this feature Game Boost. On the PS5, Game Boost is turned on automatically and doesn't need to be turned on. It makes some PS4 games better by speeding up loading times and increasing frame rates and textures. Just make sure that both your PS5 and the game have the most recent versions. You can play your old favorites again with a new look thanks to Game Boost. It's also a great way to keep yourself busy during those long summer gaming breaks. 2. Never lose power to the DualSense controller. It's easy to put your controller down without remembering to charge it, and when you return to the PS5 for additional playtime after taking some time to revert to your human state, the controller is dead. You may, however, hone your reptile brain to switch off the controller whenever you're done playing. It will completely shut down if you just hold down the PS button for 10 seconds. Continue until it becomes as automatic as hurling expletives at an unbeatable boss. Additionally, you can now program the controller to shut off after a predetermined period of inactivity. The controller does not automatically power off when it is idle by default. Go to Settings, then System, then Power Saving, and then set time until controllers turn off. The controller can be set to turn off after 10, 30, or 60 minutes of inactivity. 3. Make the most of the PS5 DualSense controller. Of course, the PS5's hardware and the titles of the upcoming generation it supports receive the majority of attention, but its innovative DualSense controller also elevates the gaming experience significantly. It is a far more sensory gadget due to its improved haptic feedback, vibratory response, and trigger feel. However, you might find that those adjustments are a bit too different from your normal experience. If so, take a cue from PlayStation support and navigate to Settings, then Accessories, and then Controllers. Play around with its response mechanisms until you find a setting that works for you. Another new feature is the integrated microphone in the DualSense, which allows you to broadcast and slash or communicate with your online team without the need for a separate microphone or headset. The microphone also has a mute button located beneath the PS button. If you need to join your Back 4 Blood group immediately and don't want to waste time setting up a headset, this can be really handy. You can adjust the built-in microphone by going to Settings, then Sound, and then Microphone if you'd like it to not be on by default. The multi-use light bar surrounding the DualSense touchpad is another ingenious feature. Depending on the game you're playing, the light bars on the touchpad's left and right illuminate in different colors to represent different things. Additionally, if you're playing with other players, 1, 2, 3, or 4 white LEDs on the bottom of the light bar, directly beneath the touchpad, will indicate your player number. 4. Play PS4 games on the PS5 with enhanced performance. Even if you were fortunate enough to obtain a new PlayStation 5, you might not be prepared to give up some of your beloved PlayStation 4 games. Not only can PS4 games be played on the PS5, but the PS5 will also upconvert the PS4 game's material to run better, even if the game developer hasn't made any optimizations because of the device's built-in Game Boost feature. Despite this, several PS4 game developers have enhanced their productions for Game Boost higher visual resolutions and better frame rates. For instance, Push Square reports that PS4 titles including World War Z, Aftermath, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider have been modified to run in 4K at 60 frames per second on the PS5. Games from the PS4 should load much more quickly on the PS5. Downloading any updates for the PS4 games is necessary to ensure that you are receiving the optimizations. If you would prefer not to load everything from optical discs, you can download PS5 games from the PSN store if they are in the digital library associated with your PlayStation Network account. Additionally, you can play PS4 games on the PS5 and only PS4 games by using your DualShock 4 controllers from the PS4. 5. Trick out your console with detachable panels. Not a fan of the glaring white exterior panels of the basic PS5? That makes sense, but you don't have to settle for that appearance either. The PS5 can be customized to look like your favorite video game, such as Spider-Man or Cyberpunk 2077, or it can simply be given a makeover with a new color or visual design. The panels on the PS5 are detachable. Matching custom skins for DualSense controllers are also available for several of them. Although the white panels on the PS5 may be removed and replaced, most of the customization choices available for the console are wraps or skips rather than full covers, so keep that in mind as you buy. Additionally, Sony has 5 new console cover colors available in their Galaxy collection. That being said, at $54.99 a set, Sony has set a high price for those. For $69.99 to $74.99 a piece. You can even get them paired with matching DualSense controllers. 6. Save time and storage by installing only parts of a game. A few installed games can begin to strain your PS5's internal storage, so if you don't already have an external SSD to augment its storage, you could start to panic. Therefore, you might want to make full use of the PS5's ability to install certain game content rather than the full game, which can save installation time and disk space, according to Wired. For instance, you may install the online multiplayer component first and only play the single-player campaign, or the other way around. To conserve space, you can also begin with the complete installation and subsequently remove only the parts you need. Consider the eagerly awaited Gran Turismo 7 racing game as an illustration of how much storage space some AAA games require. It came out on March 4, 2022, and in order to fit the complete game install and fixes, your PS5 disc needs to have 110 gigabytes of free space. That is 1/6 of the factory-installed PS5 SSD's entire capacity. Sony made a smart move by allowing you to install only the bits of a game that you wish to play, as these massive game installs eat up precious SSD space. 7. Jump straight to a specific mission with PS5 activities. For many gamers, instant satisfaction is crucial, therefore PS5 activities are a godsend. The Activities function, which you can access in the Control Center by pressing the PS button, allows you to go straight to a certain part of a game, such as a mission or game mode, without having to start the game from the beginning and then find your way to it. While activity cards are more often seen in single-player campaigns and point you in the direction of side objectives and achievements, they may also be found in multiplayer game types. They could display predicted completion durations for each task as well as trophy progress levels. For those who are completionists, the activity cards serve as helpful shortcuts and pointers. New levels and online multiplayer modes load much quicker on the PS5 due to its superior technology and nicer user interface than on the PS4. They may also let you return to portions of the game that you may have skipped the first time around. When it's unclear what to do next in expansive open-ended games like Horizon Forbidden West, activities may guide you in the right direction. Open-world games may, of course, be charming when you explore aimlessly, so perhaps try not to depend too heavily on activities. 8. Just say no to notifications. You may wish to avoid pop-up alerts while attempting to apply deep attention to a super stealthy Rainbow Six extraction operation. Thankfully, you can disable pop-up alerts from games, invites to games, achievements, and anything else via the PS5 settings. Toggle off Allow pop-up notifications by going to Settings and then Notifications from the PS5 home screen. This will disable all notifications. Alternatively, you may disable certain alerts one at a time. You may pick which alerts, such as those for game invites and awards, and when friends get online, you receive them by toggling the Allow pop-up notifications option lower down the page. You may also choose when, such as during broadcasts, games, and videos, you want to view alerts. Here's one more pop-up to smack down if you're really serious about never receiving notifications again, according to NNA. Navigate to Settings and then Shortcuts for Create button, then turn off Display Save Confirmation for screenshots. In this manner, the screenshot thumbnail won't disturb you when you take a screen grab, and if you're doing quick screen grabs, it won't interfere with your ability to take another one. 9. To save or not to save power in rest mode. You may adjust how long it takes to enter the power-saving rest mode, or to never enter rest mode at all. Under Settings, then go to System and then Power Saving. The PS5 uses less energy than usual while in rest mode since it can still download games and updates, apply firmware upgrades, and charge DualSense controllers. In addition, you may program the PS5 to enter rest mode when the link display turns off, and you can switch off a DualSense controller to save power by holding down the PS button for 10 seconds. Rest mode expedites the time it takes for the console to power up and might be useful for minimizing battery use during update downloads. Therefore, if you purchase a lot of digital games, you may download them along with any updates while your PS5 is in sleep mode, and then everything will be ready to play when you do. Rest mode does, however, have a few drawbacks, such as the potential to crash the PS5 or erase game data. So there you have it, folks. The PS5 is more than just a powerful machine. It's a playground of secrets and hidden possibilities. Remember, the journey of discovery doesn't end here. Keep exploring, experiment, and who knows what other surprises you might uncover within your own PlayStation. Imagine a world where pixels come to life and virtual realms become your reality. Well, hold on to your controllers because the moment we've all been waiting for has arrived, the grand unveiling of the PlayStation 5 Pro. A sleek, mysterious console emerges from the shadows, promising to redefine the very essence of gaming. The air is charged with anticipation as the curtain lifts, revealing a powerhouse that's set to elevate your gaming experience to unprecedented heights. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a quantum leap into the future of gaming. Rumors of a PlayStation 5 Pro persist, and while the powered-up version of the current PlayStation 5 console has not been officially confirmed by Sony, one reliable insider has claimed it's 100% in development, and the online whispers refuse to quieten down. A PlayStation 5 Pro would make even more sense as a form of stopgap between the PlayStation 5 and what we'll dub the PlayStation 6. That's because, in legal documents pertaining to the battle between Microsoft and the FTC over the former's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, IGN found that Microsoft doesn't expect a next-generation PlayStation or Xbox until 2028. So a mid-generation refresh would seem logical given the potential length of this current generation of game consoles. We expect the PlayStation 5 Pro will follow the lead of its precursor, the PlayStation 4 Pro. Essentially, this was a more powerful version of the base PlayStation 4 console. It packed the same DualShock 4 controller and library of games, but was capable of increased performance and targeted 4K resolution on select titles. It was a console designed for gamers who wanted that little bit of extra power to enjoy PlayStation gaming at its very best. The PlayStation 5 Pro would presumably do the same thing by building upon the foundations of the current PlayStation 5 with refreshed internal components and perhaps a visual redesign as well. But remember, it'll be an iteration of the existing PlayStation 5 hardware, not a full-fledged successor. This is not the PlayStation 6. Naturally, as the PlayStation 5 Pro has yet to be confirmed in any sort of official capacity, all we have to go off is rumors and a healthy dose of informed speculation. But for now, here's everything we think we know about the PlayStation 5 Pro. Last spring, the PlayStation 5 Pro was tipped to launch sometime this year. This would line up with the 3-year gap we saw between the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro, but more recent rumors have poured cold water on the idea that we're mere months away from the rumored console launching. Most recently, a leak of information pointed towards a September 2024 release window, as confirmed by Jeff Grubb on his podcast. Another prediction comes from Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, who has repeatedly suggested that the PlayStation 5 Pro will launch in November 2024 as part of Sony's ambitious upcoming hardware lineup that will also include a revised standard PlayStation 5 model and a new handheld device centered around the console's Remote Play feature. Henderson's assertion that we'll have to wait until next year for the PlayStation 5 Pro has been backed by additional sources suggesting a 2024 release date is most likely. Plus, another leaker has claimed the PlayStation 5 Pro and the Nintendo Switch 2 will share a launch window. And as Nintendo has effectively ruled out any new hardware in 2023, that would place the PlayStation 5 Pro launch outside of the next 7 or so months. In May of this year, Sony held its latest PlayStation Showcase event, and there was no sign of the PlayStation 5 Pro at all. This would definitely suggest that official news on the rumored console is not imminent. But at least the showcase was an excellent presentation of some brilliant-looking PlayStation 5 games. When it comes to price, there's precious little out there to even give us an indication of how much we need to save up ahead of time. At release in 2016, the PlayStation 4 Pro cost $399. This was the same price the base PlayStation 4 had launched for 3 years earlier. Of course, 3 years into the PlayStation 4 lifecycle, the console had already received a price cut, which hasn't happened for the PlayStation 5. If the PlayStation 5 Pro was to follow the trend of the last generation, it would launch for $499. However, don't be surprised if the PlayStation 5 Pro is pitched at an even higher cost, maybe even $599. Sony proved with the PSVR 2, it's not afraid to charge a premium price for new hardware, so you might want to start saving those pennies as soon as possible because the PlayStation 5 Pro could be one expensive console. When it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro specs, two words keep cropping up: 8K and ray tracing. We would expect these to be the two areas that Sony attempts to target with any form of revised PlayStation 5 hardware. YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead has predicted that the PlayStation 5 Pro will be positioned as an 8K console to go hand in hand with Sony's 8K TVs. While the current PlayStation 5 does claim to have 8K capacities, we've seen very few games run at that resolution on the hardware, and none of them are the most graphically demanding titles on the console. By the end of this year or early next year, there should be new AMD chips available for Sony to make use of in its next hardware. The base PlayStation 5 currently uses an AMD Zen 2-based processor and RDNA 2 graphics on a custom chipset, but the PlayStation 5 Pro may instead sport a refreshed Ryzen APU, as suggested by Paul Eccleston of Red Gaming Tech. Like other recent Ryzen APUs, the one in the PlayStation 5 Pro may even include an NPU that, according to rumors, could be used to accelerate Sony's proprietary machine learning-powered upscaling technique. More recently, the YouTuber has released an alleged spec sheet that suggests the PlayStation 5 Pro's process could hit speeds well over 3.6 GHz. In terms of graphics power, the GPU will reportedly be clocked at 2.7 GHz, which is a bump on the 2.2 GHz of the PlayStation 5's current graphics processor. The same source claims the total compute power of the PlayStation 5 Pro will be around 23 teraflops, which is more than the regular PlayStation 5's 10.28 flops and the 12 flops of the Xbox Series X. According to Paul's source, a revised PlayStation 5 console would also aim to offer significantly stronger ray tracing performance. Ray tracing has become a bit of a marketing buzzword in recent months, but it's essentially a rendering technique that produces more realistic lighting effects. Tom Henderson also suggests that the PlayStation 5 Pro will have a strong focus on ray tracing, and that legendary PlayStation console architect Mark Cerny is involved in the creation of the hardware. A more recent leak from Henderson points to the PlayStation 5 Pro packing an upgraded CPU and RAM, 18,000 metric tons as memory, and 32 GB. He goes on to say the upgraded system will target more consistent frame rates at 4K resolution, feature a new top-of-the-line performance mode for 8K resolution, and sport accelerated ray tracing. Henderson also suggests that a full PlayStation 5 Pro spec leak is imminent now that Sony has started sending out dev kits to third-party studios. Another report from Red Gaming Tech suggests the PlayStation 5 Pro will boast an impressive GPU upgrade, but the almost archaic Zen 2 CPU is only getting an improved clock speed. No update to the latest Zen 4 CPU standard, and no additional cores either. This could kill off the chances of us seeing the big benefits of those additional 24 compute units of graphical prowess. Adding in our own speculation, there's been a big push for player choice this console generation, with many PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X games offering either a performance or quality mode. The former typically targets a higher frame rate, the latter a better resolution. It seems likely that the PlayStation 5 Pro would build upon this. We don't expect a console that would be capable of running the best PlayStation 5 games in 8K at 120 Fps with full ray tracing enabled, but instead, players may be able to further choose which elements are most important to them. We think it's highly unlikely that the PlayStation 5 Pro will offer any exclusive features. As discussed above, it will likely boast more powerful internal components, but we don't expect its upgrades will extend further into exclusive features or games. However, most interestingly, these new improved elements will help fuel Sony's proprietary version of NVIDIA's DLSS frame generation tech, which could see 4K frame rates go up to 120 Fps. The PlayStation 5 Pro is pretty much guaranteed to play all the same games as the PlayStation 5, and the current DualSense controller will almost certainly be the primary way you interact with the console. There is perhaps a possibility that the PlayStation 5 Pro will come packing the high-end DualSense Edge controller, but we wouldn't bet on it, as Sony likely wants to sell that premium $199 accessory separately to the most passionate PlayStation players. It's also been theorized that the PlayStation 5 Pro will work in harmony with the recently released PSVR 2 headset. This would make sense, as virtual reality is clearly an area of great interest for Sony, and we expect its latest VR device will be supported for many years to come. there is a reasonable chance that PSVR 2 will also be able to take advantage of the increased power of the PlayStation 5 Pro for improved performance levels or sharper visuals. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you're as hyped as we are, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to stay in the loop. Your comments are our fuel, so drop your thoughts below. Are you Team PlayStation 5 Pro, or are you still holding out? What features are you most excited about?